Bonjour, my dear. You can call me Colette. I'm 82 years old, and I've lived a long, messy, beautiful life. And yes, it's true. I've been married 5 times. 5 weddings. 5 dresses. Too many arguments about furniture placement. Some people collect stamps. I collected husbands. Now, before you judge me, let me tell you something. Each of those men taught me a lesson. Some were sweet. Some were disasters. One tried to grow mushrooms in our bedroom. Love, my darling, is not a fairy tale. It's a battlefield. A comedy. A tragedy. And sometimes, a cozy Sunday morning with 2 cups of coffee and no words needed. I want to tell you what I've learned. Not as a love guru, God no, but as a woman who has seen it all, felt it all, and came out the other side with stories, laughter lines, and a heart that still beats faster at the smell of warm croissants. So make yourself a cup of tea. Or a glass of wine. Sit back. Because this is not a fairy tale. This is real life. And real love. Oh, it's far more interesting. My first love. Jacques. I was 18. He was a painter. We were both too young, too romantic, and too broke to care. He used to say my laugh was brighter than the sun on the Seine. I believed him, of course. At 18, you believe everything when it comes wrapped in charm and paint-stained fingers. We lived in a tiny flat in Montmartre with a leaky ceiling and 1 good chair. Every morning, we'd split a croissant and pretend it was a feast. Love made everything taste better back then, even instant coffee. I married Jacques because I thought love was supposed to be wild, poetic, a little tragic. He read poetry to me in the bathtub. I thought that was intimacy. It turned out, it was just humidity. We were dreamers. But dreams don't pay rent. He was jealous of everyone, even the waiter who smiled at me once. He'd get quiet, then dramatic, then paint some angry nonsense and call it artistic expression. We were both still children, really. I wanted passion, but I also wanted peace. And with Jacques, there was always a storm. Beautiful, yes, but exhausting. I left after 2 years. It felt like ripping off my own skin. But sometimes, you have to walk away from what you love before it turns into something you can't recognize. Jacques was my first love. But not my last. Thank God for that. The rebound husband. Henri was a reaction. After Jacques, I wanted calm. No drama. No crying in the kitchen at 2 a.m. over a metaphorical painting of my emotional state. Henri was calm, frighteningly so. He was an accountant. He loved numbers, order, and ironing his socks. Yes, socks. I thought that was a joke at first. It was not. We met at a friend's dinner party. He complimented my shoes and asked if I wanted to see his stamp collection. I said yes, not out of interest in stamps, but because I liked the way he buttered his bread. So gentle. So precise. 2 months later, we were married. Don't ask me why. I think I just wanted to prove to myself and maybe to Jacques that I could do stable. That I could be the kind of woman who made pot roast on Sundays and folded sheets into perfect rectangles. But oh, mon Dieu. Henri was safe, stable, and terribly boring. He thought flowers were a waste of money. He didn't believe in dessert. He had a schedule for everything, even intimacy. Thursdays. After Jeopardy. At first, I mistook his predictability for peace. But peace, my darling, is not the absence of chaos, it's the presence of joy. And joy, in Henri's house, was something we scheduled 3 weeks in advance. One evening, he came home and said, I bought us matching raincoats. Isn't that fun? I looked at those beige horrors and realized, I was becoming beige too. I left after just over a year. No drama. No tears. Just a polite conversation over tea, decaffeinated, of course. Henri wasn't a mistake. He was a mirror. He showed me what I didn't want, quiet at the cost of aliveness. Sometimes the safest choice is the one that slowly erases you. And I, Colette, was never meant to be erased. The dangerous one. Then came Luc. Oh, Luc. He walked into my life like a cigarette in the wind, bad for me, but impossible to resist. He had dark eyes, a leather jacket, and a way of saying my name like it was a secret. He made me feel like Brigitte Bardot, wild, wanted, dangerously alive. He also made me cry every Tuesday. Sometimes Wednesday too, just for variety. Luke was the kind of man who made grand gestures. One night, he showed up under my balcony with a violinist in the rain. I melted. The next night, he accused me of flirting with the man who sold me tomatoes. It was passion, yes. The kind that steals your breath. And slowly, your peace. He was charming in public, magnetic, even. But behind closed doors, the mood could shift like a sudden storm. One minute, he'd be kissing my neck. The next, questioning everything I said, wore, thought, felt. He didn't like my friends. Or my opinions. Or my laugh, at least not when others heard it. I stayed too long. I thought I could fix it. That if I loved him just right, he would calm down. That the fire would warm us instead of burn us. But love shouldn't require you to disappear. One morning, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked tired. Quiet. Smaller. So I left. Quietly. Carefully. With just a suitcase and the strength I didn't know I had. Luke taught me the difference between passion and possession. Between romance and control. Between being wanted and being safe. And let me tell you this, darling, if someone ever makes you shrink just to fit inside their love, it's not love. It's a cage with silk curtains. I never saw Luke again. But I do thank him. He broke me, yes, but only enough for the light to get in. The practical marriage. I was 37 when I met Marcel. After Luke, I wasn't looking for fireworks. I was looking for something that wouldn't explode. No drama. No jealousy. Just peace, and maybe someone who flossed regularly. Marcel was a dentist. Well-groomed, punctual, the kind of man who wore beige on purpose and read instruction manuals for fun. Our first date was lunch at a quiet cafe. He asked thoughtful questions. He listened. He paid the bill and said, "Would you like to see my clinic sometime?" "Reader," I said yes. He was the opposite of what I was used to, and I found that refreshing. We both wanted a quiet life, a shared future, and matching tax folders. We got married after 8 months. Not because we were madly in love, but because it made sense. We opened a small dental practice together. I did the books. He did the fillings. We bought a house in the suburbs with good light and sensible curtains. It was a good deal, but not a great love. I stayed for 10 years. 10. Because I thought maybe comfort could become passion. Because we built something, a home, a routine, a reputation. Because leaving felt wasteful. Because part of me thought, isn't this enough? But the truth is, you can share goals, a mortgage, and a coffee machine, and still feel completely alone. Marcel was kind. He always left me the last slice of quiche. But he never looked at me like I was magic. He never made my stomach flutter, not even once. We had dinners. We had silence. We had everything, except a heartbeat. And one day, while folding towels in our perfectly color-coded linen closet, I thought, is this really it? Is this the life I'm going to die in? So I left. At 47. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no heartbreak. Just a long conversation, and the sound of my suitcase wheels on the hallway floor. Marcel was disappointed. But mostly, he understood. We were two grown-ups who had built something practical and now were letting it go with grace. He taught me that shared life is not the same as shared soul. And that good enough is still not love. And so, once again, I chose the unknown. Not because I was reckless, but because I still believed, deep down, in a love that didn't feel like settling. The final husband. I was 60 when I met Alain. By then, I had stopped looking. For love, for drama, for anything beyond a good book and a croissant that didn't taste like cardboard. I had made peace with solitude. I even had a cat named Sarta. Alain wasn't like any of the others. He didn't try to impress me. He didn't talk about his job, his car, or his cholesterol numbers. He just smiled, kind eyes, a little crooked tooth, and asked if I wanted to split a piece of apple tart. I said yes. Mostly because I was hungry. And then, we never really stopped talking. He was 65. Widowed. Soft-spoken. He smelled like cedarwood and fresh bread. He listened. Not to reply, but to understand. That's rare, you know? He brought me coffee every morning. Not because he had to. Not to be romantic. But because he knew exactly how I liked it, strong, no sugar, just a splash of milk, and he cared enough to remember. We didn't have fireworks. We had quiet warmth. We had grocery lists and Sunday walks. He knew when to make me laugh and when to simply sit with me in silence. Once, I was ranting about something, I don't even remember what, and he looked at me and said, "You don't have to impress me, you know. I'm already on your side." That made me cry more than any love letter I'd ever received. We were together for 12 years. Not perfect, of course. He snored. I stole the covers. We argued about how to load the dishwasher. But he saw me. Really saw me. He saw the woman I had been, the wild one, the heartbroken one, the hopeful one, and loved all of her. Not despite it all, but because of it. When he died, I didn't collapse. I grieved with gratitude. Because for once, I had known love that was safe and alive, soft and strong. A love that didn't make me question myself, only hold myself more gently. Alan taught me that real love isn't loud. It doesn't need to shout or chase. It just shows up. Every morning. With coffee. And kindness. And in the end, that's what I'll remember. Not the drama, not the dresses, not the heartbreak. But a man in his 60s who looked at a woman in her 60s, and simply said, "Stay." What 5 marriages taught me. 5 marriages, 5 different men, and one lesson I've learned: love is not a destination. It's a journey. A very messy, beautiful, unpredictable journey. The first lesson: love is not enough. You can be madly in love with someone and still not be the right person for them. Sometimes, the passion fades, the differences grow, and the love turns into something that no longer fits. That's okay. It doesn't mean the love wasn't real, it just means it wasn't forever. The second lesson: choose your partner, not your ideal. I spent a lot of years chasing the idea of love, the fairy tale, the perfect match, the grand gestures. But love isn't always the fireworks. Sometimes, it's the quiet moments, the understanding that grows over time, the willingness to show up even when things aren't shiny and new. Choose someone who can grow with you, not someone who just looks good on paper. The third lesson: you have to be whole before you can love someone else. I spent a lot of time looking for someone to fix me or to complete me. But no one can do that. You have to be enough on your own first. Only when I realized that, did I find a love that wasn't about fixing or saving. It was about sharing, growing, and respecting each other's journey. The fourth lesson: it's okay to walk away. Leaving isn't failure. It's survival. Sometimes, the hardest thing to do is to walk away from a relationship that's no longer serving you, even if it's comfortable. Even if it's familiar. You can love someone deeply and still not be able to stay with them forever. And that's okay. Life is too short to stay in something that's holding you back. The fifth lesson: love is friendship with sparks. Alan taught me that. The best love isn't about passion and fireworks. It's about trust, respect, and companionship. It's about being there for each other, not because you have to, but because you want to. True love is built on a foundation of friendship, with a little bit of spark sprinkled in. In the end, my dear, I don't regret any of it. The heartbreak, the tears, the moments when I thought I couldn't go on. Because it brought me to where I am now, a woman who knows what she wants, what she deserves, and who has the courage to walk away from what doesn't fit. Love is complicated, yes. But it's also the most beautiful thing we can experience. And if you're lucky, you'll get to experience it many times, in many different ways. But always remember, love isn't about perfection. It's about finding someone who accepts your flaws, celebrates your strengths, and helps you grow into the best version of yourself. So here's to love. In all its forms. It's never easy, but it's always worth it. My advice to you. So, here's my advice to you, my dear: marry someone who makes your soul rest, not race. The heart might race for all the wrong reasons, for excitement, for passion, for the chase. But true peace, true love, is found when your soul can finally rest beside someone else. When you don't have to pretend, or fight, or prove anything. When love feels like home. I've had my fair share of passion and chaos, of highs and lows. But at the end of it all, the love that truly stayed was the one that allowed me to be myself. The love that didn't demand, but simply was. And if you've never been married, you haven't missed much. But if you've loved, truly, even once, then you've lived well. Love isn't about the rings or the ceremonies or the status. It's about the moments. The quiet ones. The ones that fill you up. The ones that make you believe in the magic of life, even when it feels like everything else is falling apart. So whether you're married or not, whether you're in love or waiting for it, remember, you are enough. You have lived well if you have loved deeply, and if you can still open your heart to love again. And if you haven't found that yet, don't worry. The best kind of love, the kind that is steady, deep, and full, comes when you least expect it. Thank you for listening, dear one. May you always know the joy of love that makes your soul rest. And may your heart, no matter what, always be full. Dear, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There are many more interesting stories ahead.